check out our streaming schedule for this week. We've got tons of content in terms of the NFL and college football, as we're going live just about every single day this week. So make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single moment where we go live. And now, on with our feature presentation.
The challenge system is a beautiful thing in the NFL. And even though there are definitely some things that I would change about how the format works, I think we can all agree that the game is better off for having challenges and some mechanism to review plays versus not reviewing plays. For those who don't know how the challenge system works, each coach gets the ability to challenge 2 decisions during a game that they feel the referee got wrong. They can't be penalties unless it's objective things like whether there were 2 men on the field or whether a football went 10 yards on the onside kick. However, you can challenge just about anything else under the sun. Think that a receiver got both feet in bounds on a catch? Think that you got the spot on a first down? Think that you should have a sack because the quarterback's knee was down before he got rid of the football? By all means, throw that challenge flag and let it fly. There have been tweaks to the challenge system since it became a thing in 1999, a quarter century ago, such as the addition of a 3rd challenge if you get one of your first 2 challenges right, lowering that threshold to get the extra challenge, automatic replays for scoring plays and 4th down plays, and the addition of expedited review to allow the officials to change the call on the field if it was a bad enough miss that it could be picked up immediately by someone watching the game. However, while the challenge system is by no means perfect, it is a good thing and usually works. But when it doesn't, oh man, does it fail. Because I want you to imagine a scenario where a coach decides to challenge a play, and after review, the officials come together and determine that the play can't be reviewed, even though the coach was asking for one thing and the referees were looking at a completely different thing. Imagine going to Best Buy and saying that you want to buy a PlayStation. The guy says, "Hang on, let me go in the back and check." He spends 10 minutes in the back room and says, "Yeah, we don't have any Xboxes lying around. Sorry." And then he refuses to look in the back room again for a PlayStation, even though you asked for a PlayStation. Something like that would seem incredibly bizarre and really freaking stupid, right? Well, during one of these challenges in a 2004 game between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Oakland Raiders, that's exactly what happened when the challenge system went horribly wrong. Because when Raiders head coach Norv Turner decided to challenge a critical play in the 3rd quarter, let's just say that it created a firestorm that deserves a deep dive nearly 2 decades later, especially in the light of the Jaguars playing the Raiders today if you're watching as of this video getting released. Because this is the story behind what might just be, considering the circumstances, the worst challenge in the history of the NFL. Before I talk about the actual incident in question, we need some context to understand the importance of this game, as well as how the game itself was going. It's January 2nd, 2005. It's the final week of the 2004 NFL season, and we head to Oakland for this AFC battle between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Oakland Raiders to kick off the new year. While this is not a big game for the Raiders outside of pride, as they enter with a 5-10 record, with nothing to play for and missing the playoffs for the 2nd straight season, falling hard from grace after making it to Super Bowl 37 just 2 seasons ago, this is a big game for the Jaguars, as this game has potential massive playoff implications. A win plus a Bronco loss to the Indianapolis Colts, with both of those games taking place at the same time, would get the Jaguars into the playoffs for the first time since 1999. As even though they no longer control their own destiny, following a shutout 21-0 loss to the Texans the week before, and losses in 4 of their last 6 games, they still had a chance to make the playoffs if the ball bounced their way. So this is definitely not the kind of game where you can afford to make any critical officiating mistakes. Which, yeah, we'll talk about that in just a little bit. So far in this game, it was a pretty dull, low-scoring affair on a wet day in Oakland. With the rain coming down hard, this was a battle of the field goals, with the Raiders leading it 2 field goals to 1 at the halftime break. Then, after Jacksonville went 3 and out midway through the 3rd quarter to keep it at a 6-3 game, making it so that the Jaguars had scored a grand total of 3 points over their last 6.5 quarters of football when it mattered most, it was time for the Raiders to take the field. So long as they didn't do anything stupid, with the way their defense was playing, they should be okay. Alas, they did not do that, as quarterback Harry Collins just loses the football on this one before it's recovered by Pro Bowl defensive tackle and one of the greatest players in Jaguars history, John Henderson. Just like that, an absolutely huge momentum swing. The Jaguars couldn't move the ball all day. This was a team that, on its previous 6 drives, had mustered up a grand total of 53 yards, and had turned it over twice. To say that this was a huge break for the Jaguars would be putting it lightly. And obviously, Collins lost the ball and it is not a forward pass, so there's no issues here with that. However, there is the question of possession. Did Kerry Collins have possession of the ball when it got yanked out of his hands by John Henderson? Was Collins down on the ground? Today, this play will not be challengeable simply because all turnovers are automatically reviewed. But back when there were no automatic reviews in the NFL besides plays inside the 2-minute warning and in overtime, if you wanted to give a second look to this play, you would have to throw out that red challenge flag. And in the eyes of Norv Turner, it was clear. This should not have been a fumble. Yes, the initial play was a fumble, but Collins recovered the ball. He had possession and was on the ground. When it was yanked away by Henderson, Collins had established possession and was down by contact. Therefore, this should be Raider football in his eyes. Pretty good use of the challenge flag if you think it's close, seeing as the risk-reward is huge, and this challenge could swing the entire course of the game. And this is a completely challengeable play. Per the rulebook, as stated in Rule 15, Section 3, Article 3, Item 1, it says that it is reviewable to determine whether a player should have been ruled down by contact while in possession of the ball. Seems pretty clear-cut here. Should Collins have been ruled down by contact while in possession of the ball? Norv Turner thought so, and seeing as the momentum of the game was hinging on this play, and seeing as the Raiders were 5-10, so they had nothing to lose, and they had all their timeouts left, plus all their challenges left, Turner thought that this was worth a second look. So the officials talked with Norv Turner and let him throw the flag. They conferred with him and with themselves about what this challenge was about. Then, they ran to the headset, watched the play, and made the call. And folks, the call that they made is going to blow your mind. Because after minutes of discussion and watching the play and whatnot, referee Tony Corrente came onto the mic and announced to the world watching and to the over 41,000 fans of the Coliseum attending one of the most baffling calls in instant replay history.
Oakland is challenging the ruling on the field that there was a fumble recovered by Jacksonville. They're challenging that Oakland had recovered and was down by contact.
A few minutes later.
After conferring with replay, it is determined that this play is a challengeable play. Therefore, the ruling on the field must stand. Jacksonville's ball, first down.
Not reviewable. And it means basically that the recovery of a fumble is not a reviewable.
Who had possession was not the question.
Yep, that's right. After review, as it turns out, the play isn't reviewable. After looking at the play, turns out we're not allowed to look at the play. And that seems kind of ridiculous when you consider the fact that even the announcers were perplexed, because while they knew and everyone knew that who recovered a fumble wasn't reviewable, that wasn't at all what Norv Turner was asking. He was asking whether Kerry Collins should have been ruled down by contact, and the officials interpreted that to mean something completely different. Turner thought that it was challenging one thing, which was debatable and was able to be challenged, and the officials thought that he was challenging another thing, which was not debatable and was not able to be challenged. And seeing as the Jaguars got a field goal off of the good field position to make it 6-6, and then won the game by a final score of 13-6, scoring a touchdown on the next drive, even though the Jaguars will not make the playoffs due to the Broncos being the Colts and not helping them out in the wildcard race, you can bet that this bizarre decision caused a ton of controversy and showed one of the flaws in a challenge system that was still very much in its infancy at the time. Because after the game, you bet that this man right here, Raiders head coach Norv Turner, was not even the slightest bit pleased about what transpired. Nor could you exactly blame him, seeing as he was challenging one thing and got something completely different. It was like if you asked for salad as your appetizer at a restaurant. It takes an hour to get the appetizer out, and then when they deliver it to you, they give you French fries and refuse to give you salad and take the French fries back. He asked for a challenge because he thought Kerry Collins was down by contact with control of the football before it came out, which is a reviewable play. And the referees were reviewing who had control of the football in the pile, which is not a reviewable play, even though it was extremely clear that John Henderson had the ball coming out, and Norv Turner knew that. Turner was perplexed as to what the officials just did, saying on the play, it was clear Kerry had the ball in his possession and was down. It was a poorly called play. And obviously, we can debate about whether or not Kerry Collins actually had the ball in his possession when he was on the ground. Clearly he was on the ground, but I'm not sure he had possession of the ball whatsoever. And if he did, he surely didn't have it long enough to establish himself as truly having possession. Personally, I don't think he ever had possession of the ball. But for the referees to look at something completely different and negate Turner's challenge entirely because it was supposedly not a reviewable play, even though it absolutely is if they did what Turner wanted them to do per Rule 15, Section 3, Article 3, Item 1, which states that you can most definitely review plays of that nature, is absolutely wild. And for them to not say that right away, and instead for them to go to the booth to wait 3 minutes to come to the ruling that they did, that they can't do anything about it, and that is not their problem? Yeah, you can see why Norv Turner was furious about that decision. You can see why this man right here was livid. It makes complete sense as to why that was the case. There have been some weird moments involving the officiating in this Jaguars-Raiders series. You saw what happened in 2007, when Warren Sapp got into it with an official and got disqualified and ejected from the game after getting a bajillion unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, where the flags were flying from the pockets of the officials like fireworks. You saw what happened in 2016, when Malik Jackson got ejected from the game late. You saw what happened in 2019, when maybe the clock should have been running on a play where the Raiders were trying to keep it running, but instead, it was ruled that the runner went out of bounds, giving the Jaguars more time to get it back, and eventually scoring the game-winning touchdown in the final game ever at the Oakland Coliseum. You saw what happened in 2012, when the play should have been blown dead for a Raider defender being unabated to the quarterback, but it wasn't, and it led to Blaine Gabbert getting injured, which led to the Jaguars losing in overtime, seeing as they had the lead before that, and Gabbert, I kid you not, was playing legitimately lights out before having to be replaced for Chad Henne. All I'm saying is that weird stuff tends to happen. And this was a weird one, where this man right here that you've been watching this whole time, Norv Turner, couldn't challenge a challengeable play because the referees thought he was challenging something completely different, even though he wasn't. Whether he would have won the challenge or not is up for debate. Whether he should have won the challenge or not is up for debate. But at the very least, if the referees just listened, he should have been allowed to challenge this. Alas, he was not. Because on this day during the 2004 season, when it came to throwing his red flag, Norv Turner was red hot.
Be sure to like and subscribe if you have not done so already, as it helps the channel out a lot, and check out my other channels, JG8 for the history of college football, JG7 for the history of baseball, and JG9 News, where we talk about all things happening in the NFL. Join me every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, where we'll play live NFL trivia for cash prizes. And make sure to join me live, as we're on stream just about every single day. And thanks to all our Patreon members and our YouTube members for helping out the channel. See how you become a member and show your support financially in the description down below.